Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. It's Wednesday, June 28th. Thanks a lot for being with us. Appreciate it greatly. Of course, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda, where you can always find the best in new and used vehicles, and Endeavor Hospitality and their family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, all the way down to Anna Maria Island with the Ugly Grouper back in Bloomington with the Chop Shop, new steakhouse right there next to BB's Market, where you can get the best in custom meats and in-house made products as well. How are you doing? We've made it to the halfway point of the week. Let's see. Indiana basketball reaches at least its non-conference schedule. Indiana football up to 12 commitments. Leonard Fournette, the former LSU player, had to pull over, man. His car was on fire yesterday. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, man. They showed the pictures of it. It was wild. I don't remember what kind of car he was driving, but he showed pictures and on Twitter, but it was a mess. But
thankfully, he's an NFL player, and he could probably that's not going to hurt his pocket much, is it? Even with insurance.
Oh no, not at all.
Not at all. With insurance, I should say.
Then, of course, I'm sure everyone saw that it's been a couple of days now that Ryan Mallett, the former Arkansas star and NFL player, died of an apparent drowning at just 35 years old. A little shocking always. And always hard to take when you lose people like that. It's shocking. Most of the time is what it is to the system. And great athlete, obviously in great shape, somehow ended up drowning. Never fun to talk about that stuff. On the program today, K-Bro will join us. Kevin Brockway, fresh in from his trip to Omaha, where the Gators he was covering, I thought they were going to win it, I'll tell you, and they ended up getting thrashed. Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star will be along as well. Looking forward to talking to Kyle. Oh, man, there was something in baseball that I was – oh, my – what in the world is going on with Mr. Ohtani? Did you see what he did yesterday?
What did he do, Jim?
He hit 2 home runs and struck out a bunch. I lost my article on it, but 2 home runs. He's having this dude's superhuman, man. It's amazing. Pitchers are not known for the hitting, but this guy is just electric. Hello to everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline as well. We appreciate you guys. Early and often, Fred, Forrest, Dwayne, Dave, Kent, Dennis, Tannis, 5 lefts there, John, Kenneth. Full load already.
The Reds ready. Get back in the win column yesterday. I see people celebrating in the comment section.
Yes.
I'm assuming that means they did.
They were the last I saw the score was 2-1 over the Orioles.
That's right. They ended up winning 3-1.
Yeah, they had been on a little after winning those 12 straight games, they had dropped 3 straight. And after having taken the lead in the National League Central Division, I don't know, so I'm not going to guess if they've dropped out of that lead. But yeah, they ended up winning 3-1 was the final. But where are we in the standings? We'll quickly check it out. All right, in the National League, Cincinnati still a half-game lead. How about that?
How about him?
Over the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cubbies. This is the great thing about the National League Central. All the way down to the bottom, St. Louis is only 8 games out. I mean, that's not compared to the West, 17 and a half out for the other last place team, 21 games out for the last place team in the East. You look at the American League West, 28 games back for the last place team, 17 games back even in the American League Central, which may be the worst division in all of baseball. And then
definitely the most competitive division in Major League Baseball. It's really not even close.
Well, the American League East, man.
No, I'm just referring to the NL Central, or am I missing something? I'm talking about in terms of the amount of teams that are close with each other. Yeah, I guess the Red Sox are 13 back, and they're
13 back, but they're at 500.
Yeah. So in terms, I guess you could say the NL Central is easier to win just because there's not as many good teams in the NL Central, but there's a lot more teams that are. I guess all the teams are closer to being in the lead in the NL Central, whereas the AL East just has the better teams overall.
Yeah, not far off of that. Agreeing with that. And how about I want to make sure. No, I don't know what that was about, but something to do with Oakland. But Indiana basketball non-conference schedule released. I don't know if there's really any surprises on there, but just solidified times. But it's a good-looking schedule. We'll talk more about it with K-Bro when he joins us. But it's one that fans are going to love, without question. They don't play a true home game until the Big Ten starts, with either the home games they have with some neutral court settings in New York and Atlanta.
Yep.
The Empire Classic of New York, which it's not set who they'll play yet, I don't think.
No, but it'll be 2 of the 3 teams that include Texas, UConn, and Louisville.
And I would bet that it's Texas and UConn.
No, and it's not. No, so it is tournament format. It'll depend on who you get placed with first, and then obviously between the other matchup, how you match or how you compare with what they did. So,
right,
it could be any of the 3. Truly,
absolutely it could be. I would just be surprised after UConn season and Louisville season on who that ends up being. Well, when their first game will be against one of the other 2, and it will not be Louisville. So, and then that's when I don't think Louisville's going to beat who Indiana does not get to play.
Well, if they both lose, then that's who they would play. So,
well, I get that, but my point is they won like 6 games last year.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that doesn't mean Indiana can't lose to Texas or UConn and then have to play Louisville in the losers game.
That's why you get paid the big bucks. That's right. See, I wasn't even thinking about it that way.
That's why I was trying to let you know it's a tournament format. Anyway,
even though I knew that on one side, I was not even recognizing that.
So, yeah, it's the Empire Classic in Madison Square Garden, November 19th and 20th.
I mentioned the passing of Ryan Mallett earlier, and apparently a lot of rip currents around the Destin area.
So I can actually attest to that. My family were in Navarre Beach on vacation a couple of weeks ago. And right before, and that's kind of close to the Destin area of the coast, Pensacola. It's in between Destin and Pensacola Beach. The last couple of days that we were there, the rip tides became sort of a pressing issue. People weren't really, I mean, yes, you can say they weren't allowed on the beach. They weren't supposed to be. People do it anyway. But it's one of those things where if you're not smart, and a lot of people underestimate those rip tides, if you think that you are better suited for it than you actually are, I mean, it will take you down. You got to be careful if you're down at the beach, which I know we've got listeners all over the place. If you're down in that part of the country or any coastline that has rip currents, rip tides, whatever you want to call them, be careful. Don't take a risk, and you don't want to end your life prematurely. Obviously, nobody wants to do that, but just take the necessary precautions to keep you and your family safe.
Great public service announcement there, JTP. But it's no joke, and because how many people don't even really know about them? A lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that they're deadly. Really, I mean, I'm one of those people. I've never been close to drowning, but up until I saw how deadly they can be, I just always kind of thought it was like a little slap on the wrist when they tell you not to get in the water whenever those things are ravaging.
I don't think that people understand, or a lot of people, some people obviously do, a lot of people do, but I think there are too many people that maybe go to the beach without the education they need. I mean, I would have probably been one of those undereducated people a few years ago, and it's scary, man. That's something you're not going to beat.
Yeah,
I mean,
water is a powerful thing. I don't think people realize how that it can take you down in the wrong scenario.
Well, it can take you out too.
Yeah.
They don't. That's the thing. They don't pull people under. They take you out to sea.
Yep.
I mean, not literally that. Well, yeah. I mean, but it's taking you back out to sea, because this is a point where I guess all these waves have come together and the undercurrent comes. It has to go back. All that water that comes out or comes up, it's got to go back out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what causes it. You'll have to just Google that stuff.
Yep.
Now, I had no idea they were bad on Lake Michigan.
I know. I wouldn't have expected that to be.
But I don't doubt it, because that's such a large body of water. It's almost Gulf of Mexico like, although it's not. But the wind, you have the same effects. If you have waves, you have the same effect, because the water is coming in, it's got to go back out. Five Lefts grew up there, said he knows how dangerous they can be. So, yeah, take a second, people. It's summertime. Everybody's getting out. If you're heading out to vacation, know your surroundings, especially if you're taking family, kids. Man, take a little bit. You've got Google today. Google that stuff. Be prepared. Prevent some unwanted losses. We've got to take a break. When we come back, Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun will join us. We'll talk about the College World Series, as he just returned from there, and a few other things as well. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
All right.
Your cousin from Boston.
Yeah, you sound more like it than I do.
I don't even know what it's supposed to sound like.
but you don't get. You have to give some more energy on the from.
Okay.
Your cousin from Boston, and you got to separate the Boston.
All right, Kevin's going to be just a couple of minutes late, but
Of course,
he'll be on shortly.
he's got to go eat his waffle. How much time?
I think you got plenty. 2 minutes.
Your cousin from Boston. Yeah, I didn't know.
All right, 30 seconds, and yeah, K-Bro will be on probably in about 2 or 3 minutes.
From a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hobbs' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this Wednesday. Thanks a lot for being with us. We greatly appreciate you. Kevin Brockway joining us here shortly. Strange and sad happening for Jimmy Johnson and his wife, as his in-laws are. We'll get more to that later as K-Bro joins. Well, I'll keep going, but I'm sure you saw that his in-laws were killed in a domestic issue with his wife's mother, which was crazy. That she ended up being the shooter of her husband and a nephew of Jimmy Johnson. So, K-Bro joins us. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning. How are you, man?
How was the trip back from Omaha? Omaha!
I know I had an early morning flight yesterday, and now I am down in South Florida and begin a vacation, doing a cruise tonight, going down to Key West and Bimini, and should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the break because it was a long 12 days in College World Series, and as you know, the Gators came up a little short in that final game, but it was kind of a crazy 3-game series because they won 24-4 and then they lost 18-4. But that's what happens in college when you run out of pitching.
Yeah, we'll get back to that, but I'm still left with the distraught thoughts of pictures of you in Bimini.
Snorkeling?
Yeah, but no. When do you leave for that?
Tonight. Yeah.
Ooh, man. All right. So that's
Great.
good for you.
Well,
That'll be fun.
tomorrow, or today is the 28th, right? So today is my 30-year anniversary of newspapers, and it all started down in Key West, actually, of all places, the Key West Citizen. My first job out of college, 1993. So there you go. So it's kind of a full circle moment. I'm going to actually meet some people down there on Thursday when we dock there on Thursday. So it should be fun.
Awesome. Congratulations, brother.
Yeah. It's very good.
That's a great run already.
No question.
I watched the College World Series. I watched the entire thing, man. It was great. It was just fun. And then that 24 to 5, whatever game that was mind-boggling. And then you turn around the next day and it's a reverse for the championship. I was shocked, but yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And I was wondering that on that the first game. I'm like, man, are they going to have anything left for tomorrow?
Yeah,
but I was wondering that more about LSU than I was Florida.
I mean, LSU didn't have to pitch Skeens at all. Really, the disappointing thing was the Florida pitching. I think the starting pitching for Florida, if you looked at it, and that's what I wrote about, none of the three starters lasted more than 4 innings. But I will say this, LSU's got a pretty relentless lineup. They foul off a lot of pitches. They take a lot of pitches. They really make pitchers work. And I knew it was going to be a hard time for Caglione, the third starter, because of the fact that, he's just so wild. And he looked really good in the first inning. He struck out back-to-back batters. You're thinking, okay, he's dialed in. But he's the kind of guy that can lose it just like that. And that's what he did in the second inning. And I think, even that pitch clock violation, to get behind 1-0 kind of threw him off. And from there, he kept on, he just pretty much lost the strike zone, and got hit a little bit too. But he's a guy who's, a two-way guy. He's kind of a Shohei Ohtani type in college baseball. But that's a lot to put on the kid. I mean, I think he's a very good hitter. There's no doubt about it. 33 home runs. He's had a school record for home runs and RBIs this season, 33 and 90. But as a pitcher, he had command issues on and off all season. And against a lineup like LSU that, really takes a lot of pitches and fouls a lot of pitches off, it was a bad matchup.
But it was a great series. I thought Florida was going to win it. And they could have. It just didn't go their way. How does Florida and LSU not play in the regular season? They're in the same daggone conference, and baseball plays 1,000 games. How did that not happen?
Well, you think about it, it's only going to get worse, right? With these 16-team conferences with the Big Ten and the SEC, and their 14-team conferences now. I mean, it's the same thing you should probably see in the Big Ten with, these mega conferences. You can only play so many games during the regular season. So it was kind of nuts. They were in opposite ends of the SEC tournament bracket. So it's just the way it kind of shaked out. But there was a lot of talent on that field. If you're one of those wonks that follows the Major League Amateur Draft, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, I mean, Dylan Cruz will probably go number 1 for LSU. Skeens will go number 2 for two for LSU, the pitcher who didn't pitch in the final series but pitched in the College World Series, and then Wyatt Langford from Florida is probably going to go number 3. So you're talking about the top 3 draft picks on that field. It was and guys in the future next year. Caglione will probably be a top 10 pick next year. Tommy White from LSU will probably be a top 10 pick. So you had a lot of talent on that ball field. It was clearly the 2 most talented teams in college baseball. Wake Forest was pretty good, obviously, too, with Rhett Lauder. But I think Florida and LSU were kind of the cream of the crop at the end. The two best teams played each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was fun watching, like I said. But, man, I'd like to have seen those games stay a little closer.
Yeah, well, I mean, Game 1 was a classic. I mean, Game 1.
Yeah, it was. That's what I expected the whole way. But the LSU, one thing I said is man, they look like a minor league baseball team. Those guys kept coming to the plate with mustaches and beards and just huge humans.
Well, they love their baseball down there. It's 7 national championships now. They have a ton of tradition down there. Their baseball stadium, Alex Box, they get 10,000 a game. I mean, it is really like a professional team, the way they go about it. And they've had great success over the years, and they pour a lot of resources into baseball. And I think Florida is a little more too, but LSU is just a little different in terms of, and you saw it in the crowd, right? Just in terms of the fan base and the fervor. And I think they ended up with 70,000 Jello shots. I mean, those Cajuns love Omaha, man. They were tearing that town up for sure.
If you can use anytime you can use the word fervor, I'm all for it.
No question. So what else is going on up in Indiana?
Oh, well, Indiana baseball's non-con schedule was released, which that should make a lot of fans happy. It is definitely one that has some tasty delights on it, a lot of travel for them. So this is back to a big-time schedule. You've got the preseason #1 Kansas Jayhawks that will be in Bloomington. You've got the Empire Classic up in New York, where they will play either Texas or UConn to start, and potentially Texas and UConn in that, or Louisville, depending on who does what. And this gives the fans a little bit more to sink their teeth into, Kevin, because I remember it wasn't that long ago, and when you were around, that there wasn't such a happy scheduling issues for the fans. They didn't have these big games anymore after Kentucky's no longer on the schedule, and then they have to kind of fill that all the time. But it's getting back to that way and quickly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Mike Woodson's built it up. Woody's built it up, and I think that that's good that you challenge yourself early. You see where you are, you see where your weaknesses are, and then you try to build off it for future games if you can figure it out. So anything with summer workouts, any guys standing out in particular, or any rumblings?
Well, no, it's just early on. They're still just doing the Coach Cliff Marshall, putting them through their paces things for the most part. But the basketball is going on as well. And I also failed to mention they play Auburn in Atlanta.
I saw that. Yeah.
So
he's got a decent team coming back. I mean, that's not going to be easy, and there are a lot of Auburn fans in Atlanta. So I'm sure.
Well, this is more, Kevin. Indiana has really they're recruiting that area. Ja'Kai Newton is from there. Caleb Banks is from that area, but they've had other. That's a fertile ground, man. The Atlanta area, and so Mike Woodson is doing I've got to tell you, Mike Woodson's doing a masterful job recruiting. Now they're starting to land. They've landed these big guys, Khalil Ware and Mackenzie Mbako and among others, but these are big names that they're landing. And not that you need me to tell you, but there was an article in the I think Zach probably wrote this, Zach Osterman, talking about how Indiana is such a player for more elite players in the class of 24 than they have been in any time in recent memory. And that is just a combination of, well, winning, first of all, cures everything. When you start winning and you start doing things that you haven't done for a while, it stands out. Getting to the NCAA tournament, yada, yada. Getting Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hachifino drafted. There's more things. Race Thompson on a summer league team. They just have so much going right now, and it's all going trending in a positive direction for Mike Woodson and the basketball program, and he's going to capitalize on it. They're going to when you get this amount of guys in, no, you're not going to get all of them, but you're going to get your share. And once this is just a continuous thing. And now once that happens, you just got to keep rolling that ball over.
Yeah. And that's, it's good to see Trace get drafted. I was happy to see that. It was late in the second round, but he got in there, and hopefully he'll take advantage of his opportunity. He certainly goes to a great franchise, right? The Golden State Warriors, where he can, obviously learn and develop in summer league. And, if he sticks with the big roster under a coach like Steve Kerr. That's not a bad spot. If he can, make it, with the team, or maybe be a two-way player of some sort. Start out in the G League and work his way up. So I thought that was nice to see for sure. And yeah, the Atlanta area is a very fertile area. I mean, it's a lot of great players in that area, and I think it was probably a smart move to do some non-conference games there. And don't forget, Mike Woodson started his career. His first head coaching job in the NBA was at the Atlanta Hawks. I remember interviewing him for an Al Horford story, back in the day, 10 or 15 years ago when Al was starting out there. So very nice to see. And, certainly, good things ahead, I think. The class of 2024, it's interesting. You mentioned taking the high school recruiting route for sure is interesting because the transfer portal too, and there's so much emphasis for so many teams on the transfer portal that I think it does open the door for the programs that really commit to it to have, build good high school recruiting classes and build from the ground up. And I think a school like Indiana, you could do that. Maybe your fans are going to have to be a little patient with some of them, but I think it pays the dividends down the road. And, you want to get your program to the point where it's not, just rebuilding, but reloading.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I believe is, I can see that coming for Indiana, because that ball is just starting to roll, and it's not losing speed, but it's going a forward speed that's not lightning. But sometimes that's not good to have things move so fast. But they're going to be going into this basketball season. It's going to be very different because they're going to be very talented. But last year they were pegged as the favorite, and I think that was not good for them. I'm not sure that they were they wore that well. Maybe it was a little stressful. I'm not sure, but they're not going to have that target on their back this year. They're not going to have Trace Jackson Davis with everybody lauding that. So they get to come in, I hate to use the phrase, a little under the radar, because I don't know that they're going to be under the radar, but the attention is going to be on Michigan State and Purdue. So Indiana can just kind of relax and maybe try to relax its way to the top.
Well, I think Woody, too, is building an athletic team, and I think that plays very well in the Big Ten because, as I've said a lot of times, I think, Big Ten has a lot of very skilled players. They have some big players, but by and large, it's not the most athletic conference. And I think Woody sees that, and I think when you're looking at some of the players that he's recruiting and some of the players that he's bringing in, a lot of long, talented, athletic guys, I think that's going to play really well in the Big Ten and pay dividends down the road. And, if he could get to the point where they are playing, 4 out, 1 in, I think that would help very much too. But it'll be interesting to see even a guy like Malik Renew, who, obviously had his issues with foul trouble and stuff, but with Trace Jackson Davis gone, here's his opportunity now, right? Like can he make that jump from the freshman to sophomore year and kind of be that guy in the middle? And if he can, and, you got Xavier Johnson back playing the point, and then you got a pretty good foundation to start with. So what's the latest with the kid from Kokomo, Badinga? What's with his recruitment?
Well, Duke got involved, and it's rumored to be down to Duke in Indiana, and he wants to make a decision before his senior season, and that's pretty much where it sits right now. I think either did or is scheduled to go on a trip visit to Duke. Indiana is trying to get him back in as well, which you'd think that they'd have a good shot at that, being that he's so close. So we'll see. But it's just one of those things. But that they're in with so many different guys. But he's a game changer. Now he's two things. He's a game changer, but he's also you have to consider him an in-state player. I know he's not from here, but he's played high school ball here in Indiana, and he's a really, really, really good player. And getting that in-state great player is another add to that ball, keeping that ball rolling a little bit faster. They're in deep with some guys in the 25 class from in-state, Jalen Harrelson and Trent Sisley, guys like that. But Flory Badunga, man, he's definitely he's would be a big time get for Indiana. Of course, we say that a lot, but you probably haven't had the opportunity to see him play, Kevin, but he's pretty active.
Well, Florida was in his recruitment early. I don't know if they're still in the mix. They thought that they had a shot with him, but it sounds like the heavyweights are in there, and that's no longer the case. And I had heard some rumblings about Cincinnati too, right? But I guess the ball is rolling in a certain direction now, and he'll end up playing for one of the Blue Bloods, and that's good for him. I know he's a top 5 national talent. So,
yeah, he's one that could actually be the number 1 recruit next year. We'll see how that shakes out. That's just decisions by people, but his recruitment has done nothing but continue to go up, which is good for him. He'll be able to get some good. I don't think he's in college. He's just going to be I don't know. He's a potential one and done, but he could be a 2-year guy.
Yeah, you never know. You never know for sure. So you going to hit Lake Monroe or do anything this weekend, or what are you going to do for the holidays?
No, I just hide. Do what I normally do. Hide.
Hibernate.
As always. Yeah, well, well, it is nice, and I'm glad you brought that up because let's just remind everybody that we won't be here on the 4th, but and no, just chill, man. Those are great chill days when you get the chance to do that. That's an awesome time to chill, and that's exactly what I'll be doing. Did you see that the NCAA put out the NLI deal with it? Schools must follow the NCAA rules over state laws.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. I don't know, what they're doing right now, and they're trying to get obviously the antitrust exemption, and who knows if that's going well. And that's why they hired Charlie Baker. He's a politician, so he's trying to work a lot behind the scenes on that. But until they get that, there's really nothing they can do. I mean, I don't think that it's, like I said, I don't think that it's gonna really amount to a hill of beans or anything they're doing. So it's kind of, I've been reading the stories, but I just think it's kind of comical at this point because the NCAA right now is toothless with regards to it, and it's right now we're going in a direction with certainly NIL and collectives and compensation where players are going to continue to the star ones and the ones that are in demand, which are certainly football players and recruiting are in demand, and basketball maybe to a lesser extent, but they're going to continue to get compensated, and the numbers are going to continue. It's a free market right now. The numbers are going to continue to increase.
Yeah, especially when you see teams, the bigger teams, like whether it's Texas or Oklahoma, that you basically make a nice yearly salary just by going there. I think at Oklahoma, it's like $70,000.
Yeah. No, it's and they're going to be coming to the SEC, baby. So it's going to be interesting. 2024.
Think about 20. See, you've got Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, and UCLA and USC, the Big Ten. Some gigantic power shifts, both places. But, man, you have to give it up to the Big Ten because of what they've done. They have the number 1, 2, 3. I don't know where Washington is in TV markets, but they've got the first, second, numbers 1, 2, and 3 TV markets in the country. And they're spread out from coast to coast. And then the Southeast Conference, they're on a much smaller footprint from the TV standpoint, which doesn't hurt them in football, I don't think, because their football quality is so good. But they're lucky that they are that good in football because of being on that small footprint, I think.
Yeah, but I will say this, Jim, somewhat in defense of the SEC, now that I'm down here. You say the top TV markets, but, who in Chicago cares about Northwestern football? Who in New York cares about Rutgers football? LA, they care about USC football, maybe UCLA to the lesser extent. It's more of a basketball school. I mean, they're in the markets. I guess maybe the other teams are getting exposed. You have a lot of other alumni in those markets. But I think the SEC network probably could get into New York, Chicago, and LA if they want to. Or I mean, it's just national now. But I mean, ratings wise, they're the two heavyweights for sure. And the Big Ten is still making the most money. They got the best TV deal. I know that there's a lot of grumbling in the SEC about. That's one of the reasons why the SEC didn't go to nine games. They basically said, "Hey, look, if you're gonna have us go to 9 conference games, pay us more." And ESPN is not in a position to pay them more because of obviously the cost cutting and the tube cutting. Obviously that's going on right now with people going off cable and going to streaming outlets. So it's very interesting, certainly from a revenue standpoint, that the Big Ten stands alone and they're making the most money.
Yeah, they are definitely the king of the hill in that regard. They had the early start. You had the great leadership of the former commissioner Jim Delaney, who was just great at what he did.
Yeah, no question. And how's the new commissioner working out so far? I guess he's cleaning up Kevin Warren's mess. Is that what's going on?
Oh, without question. Yeah, it's the probably the most shocking thing he did was give away the Big Ten championship to NBC in like 2026 or 1 year, when Fox owns a majority stake in the Big Ten network.
Yeah,
he did that without any of their knowledge, and I'm like, what a moron! But you get away with that, and you go get another multi-million dollar job. I'm in the wrong business, man.
You're just plugging away, doing your show.
Just plugging away, talking about these people.
Exactly. You're doing good work, though. Trust me. And
brother, nothing like you, man. Out on it. How was your trip to Omaha? What was the funnest part about being out there?
Oh, the steakhouse at the Drover was great. Certainly, I just think the games, the atmosphere, the fact that, the town really gets behind it, and all the bars and the restaurants around the ballpark. I mean, it's kind of like that Wrigleyville atmosphere that you have there in terms of, you have like the Blatt down the right. You have Rocco's where they do the cello shots. It's just a lot of fun. It's a cool event, and you have people from all over. And Florida fans showed up a little bit more during the final series, but it was definitely LSU and those crazy cases. But I would recommend, if you're ever in Omaha, do the steakhouse at the Drover. I mean, the whiskey ribeye I had was just one of the best ever. In terms of a little pricey, but definitely worth it.
The last thing before I let you go is, how about my Reds, man?
How about them? And how about my Mets are a mess? But the Reds, I will say, are that's what, when you build with the youth, and then you also have a veteran like Joey Votto come back and give you a spark. I mean, that's where you are. And my friend was at a couple of Reds games last week, and he was making fun of that horn that they play, like right before the pitch or whatever. He thought that was a little odd, but that's a great ballpark, though. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll get up there for a game sometime. Maybe next year when the Mets play the Reds, I'll get back to Cincy. We can, catch a ball game, have a few beers. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, brother. I can't thank you enough as always. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay, bro. Kevin Brockway, kind enough to take the time out to join us here on the program today. We've got more coming up. Be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hello. Hello. I'm hungry. Hooty hoo, hooty hoo, hooty hoo. So about 8 minutes or so, 9 minutes.
Yes, about 8 minutes. A little less maybe than 8, but close to it. And Kyle will be ready at 9:30, he said. All right, 30 seconds.
Bloomington area is a fresh, home-cooked, nutritious meal prep that we cook up. The Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Wednesday. You've made it to the halfway point. JTP, John, the producer, with us as we will talk to Kyle Neddenriep in the next hour from the yeah, that's right. I'm holding off on that. They are. I'm trying to be supportive of the riders who they are having a contract dispute, so they've been withholding their bylines, but yet they're doing all their work, which I think is a unique, it works because there was something I was reading and I was like, who wrote this? And I looked, not there. But looking forward to talking to Kyle. It was announced the kickoff times for Indiana State, which will follow the opening game for Indiana on September 2nd against Ohio State at 3:30 on CBS. Big time there, John Boy.
It is. Yep. And if you're Indiana, you just want to hope one of two things, or maybe, I mean, I guess best case scenario, two of two things. You want to look as good as possible against likely the best team you're going to face all season. And obviously, with it being the first game of the year, it's going to be difficult to beat your sharpest. But that's also the case for Ohio State. So if you can catch Ohio State with a little bit of rust, and I'm not saying you're going to beat them, but if you can catch them a little rusty and give yourself some confidence, play well, maybe beat the spread, whatever that spread's going to end up being, give yourself a little confidence boost if you're Indiana before you go into the rest of your non-conference slate, Indiana State, Louisville, and Akron. And if you can come out of that at the bare minimum, I mean, obviously you should at least be 2-2, but if you can cap those opening 4 games off and include a win over Louisville, then you're obviously ahead of schedule from where people would expect you to be. So, and it all starts with that game against Ohio State. You got to find a way to not get embarrassed. I hate to say it like that, but you've got to look good in at least by Indiana standards.
Yeah, I mean, look at the start of last season for Indiana football. They started with a surprising win over an Illinois team that would go on to compete for the Big Ten West championship.
Yeah, I believe they won like 7 or 8 games in a row after they lost to Indiana in the opener. So, I mean, crazy things can happen at the beginning of college football season. If you're Indiana, you would much rather, I mean, you could argue either way with this, but in some cases, you would almost rather play a team like Ohio State in week 1 before they're a well-oiled machine by the middle of the season.
Yeah, but
again, you pick your poison. You pick your poison with Ohio State.
Yeah.
But the good news is too, you do get to play them in Bloomington. I mean, not that Indiana's home crowd is anything intimidating. I know a lot of Ohio State fans call Memorial Stadium the Horseshoe West. Rightfully so. They have a lot of traveling fans that usually come to Bloomington. But again, you don't have to play on the road. You have nothing to lose. You legitimately have nothing to lose. So if you come out there, play loose, maybe catch them, I don't want to say napping because it'll be their first game of the season too, and they'll be ready to roll. Just surprise some people. Play good football for 4 quarters. You don't have to win, but play good football for a full game.
Yeah, the Indiana State kickoff is for the following Friday night, which, God, I hate that. But anyway, Friday night, September 8th at 7 p.m. So you get a little Friday night action early on. You've got, and that's 2 of Indiana's home games right off the bat that are off the schedule. Boom, boom. Ohio State, and then followed by Indiana State. Crack.
But you don't have a true road game if you're Indiana until September 30th because one of your non-con games is in Indianapolis against Louisville.
Right. When is that? I'm not looking at the schedule right
now. That's week 3 right after Indiana State, September 16th. Okay. So and Indiana will actually have an extra day to prepare for that game because they'll be coming off the Friday game against Indiana State.
And then who's the other? See, another non-conference game following Louisville?
Yep, they'll finish their non-conference slate against Akron.
Well, they have it's going to be interesting to see.
Let me give you their in terms of easiest pathway to 6, because that's what Indiana fans always like to do. What's the easiest way to bowl eligibility? You win Indiana State, Akron, there's 2. You beat Rutgers at home, there's 3. Can you beat a newly coached Purdue team on the road? That could be 4. Michigan State, you beat them last year, you get them at home this year, that could be 5. And then if you can win one of 2 between Illinois and Maryland, there's 6, or even both. I mean, I'm obviously it's a stretch to say you can win all those games because it is Indiana football. But again, you never know. You got Illinois team with the transfer portal.
I think Illinois is going to be a team better this year than they were last year. As the second year of Brett Bielema as the coach, he's got some big time experience, and you could see with what their program did last year as they kept moving. So it's going to be interesting to see. And this is the last season of divisions, as we've talked about a lot. So it's the last season of having to endure that 4-man punch in the face from the Big Ten East. Not that it's going to get easy after that. It just won't be as consistently horrible all the time. But are you going to miss that? Some people might miss that. They may like the Penn State, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State block, but we'll see. We've got lots more coming up. Hope you can stick around and join us. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market.
All right, I'm going to remove myself from the stream real quick because I've got to queue up a song. I don't want it to play while I'm looking for it.
Oh, is it something special?
No, I just think it's weird when it plays and I'm trying to get it at the right spot.
Do 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 do.
All right.
All right. Good to go.
I hope Indiana can at least find their way back to a bowl.
It would definitely be more fun.
Yep. And just because, the big thing for me when I always look ahead, you see, now that you know next year's schedule, if you can take a step forward this year, capitalize on I don't want to say it's easy just because it's never truly easy, but you have a very favorable schedule next year in the first year of no divisions. Well, we appreciate that, Fred. I'm surprised none of the other shows do that kind of thing.
There aren't any other shows like us, brother.
That's true. That must be the case.
That is the case. That is the case.
All right. Kyle should be here shortly.
On a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It's Hump Day, Wednesday, June 28th. You made it. Appreciate you being with us. Kyle Neddenriep joins us now. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Jim?
I can't complain. The Reds are in first place.
Man, unbelievable.
You know how long it's been since I've been able to say that like that?
1990?
I was going to say 30 years. I mean, it's it's crazy. That was fun to watch, that 12-game run. And then, but when I talked to Zach this Friday, because I was chatting with him because they had a series with Atlanta last week, who Cincinnati wins the first game in a wild fashion, like 11-10, and then the next day, the next two games, Atlanta wins 7-6 both times. But Atlanta was one run away from sweeping that series, which that's pretty wild.
Well, they're probably a different level of team. So, just trying to sort of not sink completely against them is probably a good thing. And, then they get back to, if you can dominate your division, that's kind of when you're in those central divisions, that's kind of where you have to. But the schedule with it used to be unbalanced. So you'd play these teams in the division, 18 times. They've changed that this year. So you're not playing as many games against those division teams. So that kind of works against you, but it's the same for everybody though. Everybody has to play those better teams now. So yeah, I mean, the Reds are fun to watch. My son the other night, he's like, "Hey, let's watch." The Reds were on. He's like, "Let's watch the Reds." Like, I don't think he's ever said that. So,
cool. Is he a trained Detroit Tigers fan?
He is, but we sort of give. I mean, we're not giving up, but
I get it. It's hard to get a kid indoctrinated into a team when they suck.
Yeah.
And I don't care who it is, where it is. It's just they want to win now. They don't want to wait 30 years.
Right. No, we follow him, and it's been since he was probably 6 when they were actually last very good. So it's been hard to. But yeah, he's into it. We go to games now and then, so that keeps him. We had fun last year. They won on a walk-off when we went, so that kind of got him juiced up for a while.
That's awesome. Let's see. Something I was thinking of. Now that you got Micah Shrewsbury at Notre Dame, of course, longtime Purdue coach Matt Painter there, and Mike Woodson established at IU, and even Thad Matta, who is an outlier. He's not from Indiana, but he sure lived there longer than I think anywhere else. Man, you got 4 guys that are really recruiting this state. That makes it tougher for each of the others to pull out the talent that comes out of this state.
Yeah, it kind of wrote about that a little bit when I talked to Trent Sisley at the Top 100 here, the underclass showcase about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, and he has a high level of interest in Notre Dame. Had just gone up there and visited and got an offer, and so it's sort of where Notre Dame may have never been involved with a guy like Trent Sisley from Heritage Hills, who's a Southern Indiana guy. Now they're a major player for him, maybe considered one of the leaders to get him. And, it goes back to relationships and, having a footprint in the state. And so, all those other guys you mentioned have kind of long established or in Woodson's case, kind of reestablished back in the state. And he's obviously they're recruiting at a national level at IU. And I'm sure that's the plan of Notre Dame as well. But Notre Dame really hasn't been as much of a factor, when you talk about in-state recruiting, not like Purdue is, or not like Butler had been, and Butler hasn't as much maybe here in the last several years as they had at one point, but definitely Purdue's kind of become the in-state leader, I would say, in a lot of ways. It's been that's just been the way it has been under Painter, but I think with Micah, who has ties to, obviously went to Cathedral, he's from Indianapolis, people know him. He coached under Painter, he coached under Stevens. It's it's a major deal, So they're definitely a factor. They offered Xavier Robinson from Lawrence North. I don't think he gets an offer from Notre Dame under the previous staff. So we'll see how that progresses. Obviously, people I know. They want to close the border. They want to say, hey, we got to keep these guys. If you're an IU fan, we got to get all the. It's never going to happen that way. You're not going to get all the top guys, but throwing another team in there, like you said, with Notre Dame, sort of being a bigger factor than they have been in the past. I mean, it is tough. I mean, it's and that. Those relationships that Shrewsbury has with high school coaches, I think will pay off. They brought in Tay Davis, who started out at Seton Hall out of Warren Central, and now he's back there too as well. So you got him, you got Marcus Burton, the reigning Mr. Basketball. You got Logan Imes from Zionsville, who was committed to Penn State, who's coming in. So already it's really interesting how that's working. And now with the offers to Sicily and Robinson and guys like that, I think it'll be how this plays out will be sort of instructive, I think, into what kind of a foothold Notre Dame has on in-state recruiting.
Yeah, and Notre Dame has basketball history, man. They were a team that competed with these guys back in the day, and then it kind of went away, and Mike Bray did a good job, but was never able to really quite get there. Had a good run a couple of years ago, but Micah Shrewsbury has come in and just seemed to really invigorate the program almost instantly. I mean, you could feel an infusion, or I could see an infusion of energy with him in that program.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I love Mike Bray was awesome. I've talked to him a few times, and he's such a cool guy.
Great guy,
down to earth, and I don't think anybody was thought he did a poor job at Notre Dame by any means. He did a great job there. But yeah, I think when you have a changeover in coaching, it's an infusion of energy, and And I think with what Shrewsbury accomplished at Penn State, I think that helps as well. They played a style. I think that is fun, to watch. It's fun to, it's fun for kids to want to see themselves in that style of play. So they shoot a lot of threes and they get up and down and who knows? It depends on your personnel year to year, but that looks like it's going to be the way they want to go. So yeah, I mean, there's always anytime you get a changeover, you have to kind of capitalize on that momentum and energy and newness and all that. And then the season starts and you kind of see where it really falls as far as that goes. But, he's got a long runway there at Notre Dame. It's not like, he's going to have to go out and win this year and win big, to be considered a successful coach. I think you'll have some time to kind of develop your system and, get your foot in there and get to work. So, but yeah, I mean, you can't argue with what Matt Painter's done. Obviously, Mike Woodson's done a great job. I'm not, saying Shrewsbury's going to dominate those guys by any means in recruiting. So, but it's just something to watch as far as, another major player, especially the guy like Sisley. Like I said, I mean, that's not the type of player, Southern Indiana kid that Notre Dame has even recruited, so that's a change and that you see it right away and just his interest in the fact that he's considering Notre Dame pretty highly, I think. And Northwestern's another one I think that maybe people don't think of much that could be in for him too with their ties to Brian McIntosh and Coach Collins there's really gone after Sisley and really wants him to kind of be the guy for them. So yeah, we'll see. I don't see this playing out immediately, but just something to watch in his recruitment, I think.
Yeah, and when Mike Bray stepped down, he had openly said that the NIL was a part of it, of his reasoning. And that's a question. In Notre Dame, first of all, being, they're not labeled anything. I'm not going to call them a football school. They've had more success with football than they have basketball. Let's say that. And that's where their attention has been. They've gotten more notoriety from that. But how is that going to change? Because I don't know that until Notre Dame gets into that on the basketball side, because if you're not doing that, you're not going to win. I just don't believe you're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's got to be a player there, and I think they will. I'm sure there was some talk about that when Micah took the job, and there has to. I've seen Micah out. I haven't had any long conversations with him or anything, but I assume that's probably part of that they're going to be a big part of that. I don't see why, Notre Dame is such a major brand and major, like you said, known for football, but man, they've had, so many sports that have had success, and women's basketball, especially. I mean, they've been awesome for years in women's basketball. So, yeah, that's just kind of the world we're living in now in the NIL world. And if you're not part of that, then you're not moving forward like the rest of the world. So yeah, I can't imagine that won't be something that they'll be actively involved in. And with their brand, I don't see why you wouldn't be.
Yeah, and it's something that with them being in the ACC, that's all the ACC has is basketball. To me, the football is they don't really have. You got Clemson, and there's not much else from that, and they're kind of getting left behind in the TV wars right now. It seems. I'm still surprised Notre Dame is not a member of the Big Ten. Not surprised, but it's such a perfect thing, and it'll probably never happen because it's perfect. But also, that would be 3 Big Ten schools in the state of Indiana. Might be a little much.
Yeah, I always thought that too. From being a fan of the Big Ten, or not a fan of the Big Ten, but just being around the Big Ten, and following that conference more than any other. And also following Notre Dame is like I personally always hoped that they would go to the Big Ten just because it would make a heck of a lot of sense for travel and everything else, rivalries that have already existed. You got how long did they play Michigan and Michigan State? When I was growing up, they'd always play and Purdue. That was a right. So it would make a lot of sense from from that standpoint, I would think for them to be in the Big Ten. I get having your independence and all that, but and as a complete aside, I mean the college conference thing, I just, man, it just it makes so little sense. It just, you might as well just call it the TV contract instead of calling it college football. It's the TV contract, football. I mean, it just I can't believe they really need a commissioner of college football to kind of decide, all right, what's best for what we're doing here, and not what's best for TV contracts. Because at some point, it's just, having UCLA and USC in the same conference with you, and Maryland and Rutgers, it just doesn't. It kind of, as someone who grew up with the rivalries of the regional, what made college football so awesome was regional rivalries, and the ones you don't even think about, like Missouri and Kansas not being in the same conference and playing each other in football and basketball is just makes so little sense and is so frustrating, and all those Big 8 and Big 10, more of the Big 8 has just been blown to smithereens. But that was such a great conference, and now like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State aren't even going to be in the same conference, and it just A&M and Texas were that thing was split up. Just what sense does that really make that those great rivalries are gone? I mean, it's all about TV.
Yeah, the fans are the losers who have been there supporting them all that time. They lose out on that.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like old man, but it's just being realistic. It's like,
get off my lawn.
Yeah, but when you look at it, it's like, why are we doing it this way? In some of these schools, like Iowa State, and like some of those, they just kind of get left out completely, and it's too bad. I don't. It's
if you're
bad,
not in a major TV market and don't have a big time football program, those are a lot of schools that are going to take it on the chin.
Yeah, and and it's the drivable games too that you lose, and we're kind of lucky, I guess, in the Big Ten. The Big Ten schools didn't lose as much as some of these others did, but when you're losing those games you can drive to on a Saturday morning and get back at Saturday night, and you're not playing those schools that you played for 100 years, then that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know why we're doing it this way. Why is Iowa playing Maryland, in a conference? It just doesn't add up to me. Other than I know why it adds up, because it's all about the cash. But
it adds up, all right. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, but man. Anyway, that's just a rant I was thinking about.
No, it's good. It's actually all, I agree with 1,000% of it. Indiana high school basketball, you have Flory Badunga followed by Jalen Harrelson. Both of those guys are potential number one ranked players in their class. How long has it been since Indiana did have, or was even close to having, a number one ranked player in consecutive years?
Would it have been probably Odin and Eric Gordon, I would say, that era. But yeah, I would say that would probably have been the last 06, 07. Yeah. So, and I'm not sure, what they ended up ranked, or they were right there though. I mean, they would have been right at the top.
Both of them made it to the NBA, and Eric Gordon is still playing. Yeah.
So I don't think they missed on those. Obviously, Odin with the injuries and whatever, but yeah. So that would have been, yeah. I mean, I talked to Jalen Harrelson this weekend, and I just got talked to his dad a little bit too, and just such a super kid, and so down to earth, and Flory too. Flory's different because he hasn't. He's kind of still new to all of this, but Jalen, having grown up around it, and he's never not been considered like one of the best guys around, but you never know that, from talking to him. He's just a very down to earth guy. I can't say enough about, how hard he works at improving his game. And he's the kind of guy too. He's not a volume shooter. He's a make everyone better around him type of guy who can handle the ball. He's getting so much stronger too. I watched him this weekend. He's driving hard to the basket and finishing, and he's I don't want to say he's unstoppable. Obviously, he's only 16 years old, and he's got a long way to go as a player. But at the high school level, man, he is the complete package. And, like I said, it's really easy to talk to and super down to earth. So I think he's special. I mean, that's not breaking news, but
No,
he's
yeah.
ranked. He's ranked where he is. I think rightly so. Whatever he is, 9 or 10 in the country. So, but yeah, he's something else. He just keeps getting better too.
And he's phenomenal. I mean, the size, what he can do at that position, it's crazy. Speaking of Floyd Badunga, Duke got involved in his recruitment, and man, as soon as that happened, boy, that buzz went out, and it was all the Indiana fans were, woe was me. It's I don't think they should give up on him just yet that easily, because Duke, this is not Mike Krzyzewski's Duke, and which is what I guess he started watching at some point and became a semi-Duke fan. But he's only going to be in he's a 2-year guy max, because if he's not, then he's not probably going to be a pro. But he doesn't seem like he's going to be a guy that's in college long. You've seen him much more than I have. He's got so much raw skill, but he has a lot of other natural talents that are not, he's not even untapped yet because of his inexperience in basketball.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the more people see him, it's like you can sometimes overanalyze. And I think that's maybe not overanalyze, but, when you see a guy enough, maybe you start to see some flaws or whatever, and I know some people are, when you get that highly ranked too, it's natural. People are going to kind of pick you apart. That's just the nature of it. And, but I haven't seen anything where it's like, man, I don't, we were wrong, or we were, he shouldn't be ranked this high. I mean, he just continues to go out and get better. And like you said, there's all this untapped stuff in there still, because he just hasn't played a long time, at least at this level. So, there's going to be, he's not a perfect, no one is, but, he's definitely on the trajectory to, be a guy who can really protect the rim and run block to block. And his touch is always improving. I think his play around the basket, his footwork's really good. His free throw shooting, which is important for him because he's going to get fouled a lot, is definitely improved. So all those things to say, I think he is, he's really good too. I mean, he's different as far as his game goes than like a Harrelson. He's not as skilled, obviously, but with his size, man, he's his size and just his willingness to be taught and learn and all those things, I think really benefits him. And I know there's still a long way to go. And like I said, he's going to get picked apart more, but I really think highly of him as well.
Who was the best player at the Charlie Hughes? Was it Jalen Harrelson? And because I know him and Fishers, they went 4-0, and they kind of are they the preseason favorite to win a state championship?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I still think Lawrence North, the two teams that really kind of stood out to me as far as just playing, looking like they were midseason form was probably Fishers and Lawrence North. You
can't get rid of Lawrence North. They won't go away.
They're different. I mean, they're small. It's funny. I was talking to their coaching staff, and it's like it used to be Lawrence North would have 6'8" guys with their warm-ups on, not even getting off the bench. They don't have any of those guys. They're guards now. It's a guard team. But Xavier Robinson, I talked about him earlier. And then you put all these shooters around him, and their biggest guy is probably 6'6", but he's not. He's more of a wing. But they play this style that really fits them, and they just ran everybody out of the building. But I still think Ben Davis and Brownsburg played each other, and that was a really good game. Ben Davis ended up going 4-0, and Brownsburg was 3-1. But those two teams, Cannon Catchings, I thought was really good. That Brownsburg team, I think is right there with them as far as being there with Ben Davis. So that'll play out. Ben Davis has got guys stepping into new roles, like everybody does, but they were such a senior heavy team. They've got some different guys playing in different roles. So I don't know. It's hard always to me too. It's like June is like it's you might get an idea on some teams, but I don't think we really know for sure. Teams aren't game planning at this point. There's no scouting reports. You're just kind of going out there and playing for the most part. So you don't want to, there's always kind of a little bit of hyperbole, I think, after the Charlie Hughes and it's good to see teams play, but I don't read a whole lot into it as far as the season goes, but it does give you some idea at least what teams are going to look like more than any other event.
And what Fishers did, by your own words, that is frightening. After putting down after he in his latest piece on that, they beat Plainfield, Chesterton, Crown Point, and Jeffersonville by an average of 30 points.
Yeah,
an average 4 from all teams from Jeffersonville South, Crown Point, up in the Chesterton. It didn't matter where they came from. It was just like taking on all comers and just that's an impressive pounding of 4 different teams, man.
Yeah, and I watched that Plainfield game. That was the first game I think on Friday, and I can't. Andy Weaver's one of the best coaches around at Plainfield, and it was just like they and again Andy, they won't play. They'll be if they played him in the season, it'd be different. They would be more ready and whatever. But even still, it was like, man, this is like Fishers looks like a machine. They've added some pieces too, but mostly it's just about guys getting older, getting better. They've basically got the same group for the most part that they had, and they're just better, and stronger and all those things physically. So, but yeah, man, they were like just chewing people up and spitting them out there. It was pretty impressive. But Lawrence North, I think, was right there too. And like I said, Brownsburg, Ben Davis, that was a really good game. There were several other teams I thought like Guerin Catholic. I thought, man, they played really well. The couple of games I saw, last year's 3A runner-up. But yeah, I wrote a lot about that. You can go check that out. But yeah, really fun event. Charlie Hughes is always a lot of fun to see those high school teams play together.
And give out a shout out to some smaller schools, Providence from the area where I'm originally from. And I believe that is Lance Stemmer still on that staff?
Yeah, I believe so. Ryan Miller, man, you can't say enough about what he's doing there. And man, he's just such an outstanding coach. I got to watch them a little bit 2 years ago when they won state and beat Central Noble. And, then last year Brownstown just barely beat them. So now, you go into this year, that's another thing. It's like, oh man, those Brownstown was awesome this weekend. And now they're going to, potentially see Providence in the sectional again. I know people are trying to probably write in Brownstown as the favorite, which they might be, but that's going to be getting out of that section with Providence, because Providence is so good defensively. Man, they get after you and they're so intense. That's going to be. I would love to see that game. It's hard to get away during sectional week from here. We've got so much to cover, but man, I'd love to see those teams play each other.
And yeah, that's going to be an epic battle for those 2A squads. I mean, you don't usually see that quality from. I mean, I don't mean to say that the lower level schools are not good. It's not my intent, but this level of intensity. I mean, these teams are really good. You've got Jack Benner going to Purdue, so, and I'm sure Providence has to have some guys on. They're probably going to end up at Bellarmine or someplace like that. Yeah,
they've got 2 guys, Hesse and Loven, who guards, who are both very good players, and I think that it is 2A. There are really good programs that come out of 2A, but I think those 2 teams, because I watched Providence beat Greenfield Central, who has one of the best players around, Braylon Mullins, and it was like they were. I talk about teams not game planning. It was like they had everything scouted, or it seemed like they did. I don't know if they actually did, but man, they were all over Greenfield Central, which is a 4A team that was, again, they're replacing quite a few people, but a 4A team that's from Central Indiana. They picked them apart. I mean, it was like it was very impressive. So I think, a long way to say Providence and Brownstown are probably potentially 2 of the best teams, top 10 teams in the state, regardless of class. Brownstown might be, I don't maybe top 5. I mean, they were really good this weekend too, and Providence is not far off that. So, but yeah, those two teams are, and Brownstown has a lot of good players even beyond Jack Benter. So, that's shapes up to be a lot of fun to see what happens there in that part of the state in that class.
Yeah, that would be. I can't wait. Before I let you go, man, wouldn't it be fun if they, after the state championships, they did a 4 versus 2, 1 versus 3, something, and had like a little. Here's your shot at it, and I'd love to see that. I mean, it would probably be chalk most of the time, but those few times that it wasn't. Man, those are going to be exciting.
I mentioned that was sort of the Tournament of Champions style they had when they first started class basketball. And I mentioned it probably around 2013, 14 when Greensburg was in it. And we had that year, there was, I think Park Tudor was the champion in 2A and someone was really good in 1A. And I said, we should do that. And I got scolded by somebody in the higher ups for even bringing that back.
Why?
Because they were so against it at the beginning. Remember when they did the Tournament of Champions in 98, 99, I think it was the first couple of years of the class basketball. And people thought it went over like a lead balloon because I think the timing of it too was just like, well, it seems anticlimactic. We just handed out the championships and then, people were still upset about class basketball going away. But I agree with you. It's been 25 years. Why not, take a look at that again? I think it would be interesting. I think a lot of those teams could compete, and I don't know if you build it into, because it is, I can see the part of it where it'd be anticlimactic, where you already win a state championship and then you come back and play. And what's it really mean? I would, I don't know. But yeah, it would be fun from a standpoint of, seeing who could win the ultimate prize.
I think that maybe the smaller schools would say, oh, we don't want to tarnish our state championship. To me, you're not tarnishing anything. If you lose, you're supposed to lose. And if you win, you shock the world. But yeah, I would like to see it. So, but well.
But I guess if you're like Ben Davis last year, I could see why. Like, why are we? We just ran the table against everyone. Now we got to come back and beat whoever. So I could see that side of it.
Absolutely. What's up with you, man? How you spending your summer?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of basketball. We're getting our football stuff, kind of rolling some football stuff out and working behind the scenes on our football previews. And still got some more I got a basketball story running tomorrow on one of the bigger, I would say, stock risers I saw at the Charlie Hughes and kind of an interesting family connection with him. I won't say too much about that yet, but yeah, a lot of football, basketball crossover and just working ahead on a lot of stuff. And there's always stuff that comes up daily. Trying to take a few days off here too shortly. So recharge the batteries a bit.
I hear you, brother. Well, go do it. We appreciate you so much. Enjoy the rest of the week and hopefully a long weekend for you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.
Thank
Go
you.
Reds.
Kyle Neddenriep joining us. Make sure you are following him on all of his coverage. He's just one of the best, one of the busiest man in the biz. We've got more coming up. Indiana Sports Beat Radio returns right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Now, this is great. I like this.
You will, what I'll do here is I'll let you be solo for about 10 minutes or so, and then you can take one more break, and then I'll pop in with you for the last segment.
Yeah. Solo. Hey, can you go solo? Solo, I can't hear you. Oh,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh.
By the way, I'm making the clip for Kyle Neddenriep, and I was at the beginning. I can't remember if I stepped out or not, but y'all talked Indiana high school basketball recruiting, correct?
Well,
did y'all talk about Trent Sisley and Jalen Harrelson a little bit?
Talking about I didn't really talk about Sisley. I talked about Flory Badunga, Jalen Harrelson being
Okay.
Just extraordinary back-to-back super high ranks coming out of the state.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't put something that wasn't talked about on here.
I mean, they've got to be. Well, I know Flores has got to be the number one player in the state, and Jalen Harrelson too. So, well, you can try tailor it that way.
Yeah, we will. I just wanted to. I'm making the thumbnail right now. I just wanted to floor up at Flory and Jalen Harrelson on there. That's really the main thing I was worried about.
I'm still trying to get Kevin Brockway image out of my mind at Bimini.
Oh yeah,
shorts on. Who's your baseball team? Are you a Reds fan?
I'm not really a fan to any team. The one time I really paid attention to MLB, like kind of followed it in a way, was when Schwarber was making his run with the Cubs. And really since then, I haven't paid too much attention. But everybody where I'm from, I mean, I would say 80% of the people down where I'm at root for the Reds. It is cool, though, how in Indiana you kind of get a bunch of division based on where people are located. The Southwest gets the Cardinals, Southeast gets the Reds.
Because they don't have their own team.
Yeah, I know.
And it is just sliced.
Same thing kind of happens for football down here. I mean, you have probably mostly Bengals fans, but you have a good coalition of Colts fans as well down here. In the southern part of the state, you got Titans fans. What else? I guess everything after that's just kind of generic. Like some people are, I feel like you got Steelers fans everywhere. You get a lot of random Dolphins fans, but I think that's based on because back in the days when Dan Marino was playing, Dolphins were always on TV, that kind of thing. So, all right. Again, yeah, I'll let you be solo here while I'm finishing up some stuff, and then I'll pop in for another break, and then I'll finish out with you.
Experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday, June 28th. Thanks a lot for being with us. For those of you that are following along on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe, notifications toggle, and the like button, pretty please. We appreciate you guys. Man, Shohei Ohtani. I can't wait to talk to Rick Bozich about this later in the week. This guy is weird. Baseball is kind of lucky right now. If you're a fan of baseball, it has potentially someone who could become one of the best players in the history of the game, and Shohei Ohtani, who's already established, and then the most explosive rookie we've seen in a long time with Eli De La Cruz of the Reds, and hitting for the cycle 15 days into his Major League Baseball career, which is the second fastest in Major League Baseball history, 1 day short of tying the record. But Shohei Ohtani on Tuesday hit 2 home runs and struck out 10 White Sox batters. He has 28 home runs. That's crazy. But he had solo shots in the first and seventh innings, the first time he's gone deep twice while also pitching. Crazy. This guy is he's just He's something, man. The last American League player before Ohtani to hit at least 2 homers and strike out at least 10 players was Pedro Ramos, Cleveland, 1963. This is 60 years this hasn't happened, people. 60 years. That's something. Yeah, that's just crazy. And then, of course, Eli De La Cruz, what he's been doing. It's when you're able to do that with no Major League Baseball experience, that's just raw talent. And it's not that he hadn't been playing baseball, but he'd only been only in the majors for 15 days when he was already turning heads. He has so many tools. I mean, speed, power, good hitting. And he's 21. So it's kind of neat to see these things happening now. It shows you that the talent is always chasing the previous. Whether it's previous players, previous years, previous teams. But that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But Ohtani, yeah, he's a generational player, man. He drove a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, 418 feet. Then he comes out and throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. How about that? He had 13 home runs in June of 2021. You got to be kidding me. He shares that mark with Albert Pujols. It's amazing. I don't recall ever talking about a player that talented here. Well, of course, he's done something no one's done in 60 years, so there you go. What's the college basketball environment going to be like in the state of Indiana now that you have Mike Woodson in Bloomington, Matt Painter in West Lafayette, Micah Shrewsbury up in South Bend, Thad Matta at Butler? Those are the 4 big ones. Yes, I know Michael Lewis at Ball State, and I'm not ignoring him, but they're not on that Power 5 level. But he's also one that you put in, that I would put in there underneath of those, because there are going to be guys that want to go play for him. He's a good coach, good guy. He's a winner. You saw what he did last year. And again, I love to mention these guys are all from the state of Indiana, minus Mata, but he has lived in Indiana, I think, more than any other place in his life. He had a home in Indianapolis before he took the position with IU. They just kept, I think, since he was the coach at Butler. So it's just pretty cool to see that stuff. And it just backs up the narrative of how good this state is and continues to be. You know, it's funny. I mean, anybody that thinks it's a myth that Indiana is the state of basketball, they're just uninformed. You know, talking about Flory Badunga and Jalen Harrelson, the 2 best players in their classes coming out next. Well, those are top 10 players in the country. Flory's I think a top 2. I think he's number 2. Jalen will be higher next year. I'm just convinced of that. He probably is going to be a top 5. So the state is going to have 2 back-to-back top 5 ranked players. Well, go look at the rankings and see what other state has that. And then compare that state to Indiana in size and come back and tell me what you got numbers-wise. I'm going to be pretty confident that Indiana is going to be much smaller on the per capita side. We've got to take a break. We've got more to get to here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and we'll get back to it right after this break.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market.
All right, so what is today? Wednesday. We don't need crap tomorrow, do we?
Yeah, we got Dustin Schutte tomorrow, Matt Taylor,
Hold on.
Dylan Sin, if he's
Hold on.
available, and Chris
Hold on.
No, is Chris isn't off. No, he already took his trips. We have Chris Denary tomorrow.
No, he did? I don't think
What?
so.
No,
Are you sure?
we have Chris, because remember we said we're going to talk about, you said last week that we'd talk about the aftermath of the draft with him.
Okay, so we've got Dustin, Matt.
Dylan and Chris. Excuse me.
All right, so he's with us the whole time. He's on day 50. What's Dylan, 9:30?
9:10.
9:10. Oh, yes, Fort Wayne, and then 9:50. And we finish it out with Dustin. And then
Friday is Alec Bussey at 8:50. Bob Kravitz at 9:10. Zach Osterman at 9:30 and Rick Bozich at 9:50. What a Friday we have because of moving Rick.
Yeah. Now, Bob, that's just temporary there on that day time, right?
Yeah, until he finishes up his stuff.
That's fine. Just want to make sure because I hate not being able to take him long.
Yeah.
But that is Zach's not on until 9:30.
Correct.
That's all right. That's perfect. 9:30. And then what'd you say?
Rick Bozich at 9:50.
Well, that's a great one to go out on Friday.
It is.
And people's listening and people's no YouTube shows on Monday or Tuesday next week, as the staff has taken off for holiday. Holiday. Oh, yeah. What was I going to talk to Rick about? Oh, yeah. Who? Oh, Shohei Tony.
All right, here we go.
Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Hump Day, Wednesday, June 28th. Hope you've made it through the first part of it. Thanks for spending it with us. Hopefully we can ease you into the backside, head you into that little, hopefully for most of you, not for Michael, unfortunately, but a 4-day weekend, which it's odd. July 4th is on Tuesday. So the official holiday is Tuesday. I don't know if people are just getting the option for Monday with a lot of places, or are they just taking both, or how that's working out.
Yeah, it's a good question. It threw me for a loop when I found out that people were getting both, including myself. So yeah, but hey, I'll take advantage of it.
But yeah, it's kind of that's an odd day. I love 4-day weekends for two reasons. They're the gift that keeps giving. First of all, you get the 4-day weekend. then you've automatically got a short week. So
A 3-day week, for that matter.
Well, for that one,
Exactly.
but even a normal, just when it's a 4-day week, it's a beautiful thing because it shortens your week. This is going to be like nuts. Yeah. So
you're off 6 of 8 days. I think is how that math works, right?
Well, but I don't think
6 of 9, something like that.
It doesn't work out that way for everybody, though.
Yeah.
But let's see. Oh yeah, the NCAA says the schools must follow rules over state laws in regards to NIL. And I was talking to Kevin about that earlier, and it's more of the same. I'm like, you can say whatever you want, but what can you enforce? Because I can tell you right now, oh, daggone it. What was I talking about? I got distracted.
You're talking about the NCAA.
Oh, yeah.
And
what are they able to enforce? Yeah. Because the first time someone breaks a rule in some state, let's say California, where it's very liberal or it can be wherever, they're gonna sue the NCAA and say you cannot force him to break a state law. This is the law. That's a rule. So, but I'm not saying that I disagree with what they're saying. It would be better, but they seem to always do things when they're not well positioned. I don't know how well positioned they are. I'm not an attorney, but just my meager common sense tells me that with 50 states out there, you really think the NCAA, which has not been able to govern itself before all this stuff was crazy, all of a sudden they're going to be able to do it now? Yeah, good luck with that. And they just get asked for more trouble by doing it, not putting this into effect because it should be, but before they're really ready to do it, before they're really able to do it, before they're able to enforce it, before they know how to do it, before they know if they can do it. And this may be part of that, finding out if they can do it. Where's that first lawsuit come from? Do they win or do they lose? I can't wait to see what happens with the Zion Williamson thing in North Carolina. Oh boy, that's intriguing to me. Because I want that stuff to come out, which is funny. We already know about so much of it, but yet people act like it's not there. It's there. It's right there. But this would make it completely legitimate, unquestionable, and it would bring up a lot of questions for Duke because there is no way in hell you can say you didn't know. No, you don't move from an $895 a month rental to one for $4,500 a month. That's basically moving from a $80,000 home, maybe $100,000 home, to one that's worth upwards of $800,000. I'm sorry, that's not. And now you're driving a Mercedes, an Escalade, and what was the other one? Yukon. Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. Move along. Nothing to see here. Move along. The funny thing is, what would happen? Would they even be able to go back and do anything? Would they want to? No, they're not. I don't think they're not going to hurt their golden child or one of their golden children. I'm just going to be Now, the NCAA has nothing to do with this currently because this is in the hands of the courts in North Carolina, which is it going to matter that the court is in North Carolina? I don't think at this level it does very often, but we'll see. And no matter what the result is of this decision, whether they have to release that stuff or not, there will be an appeal. I'm certain of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that stuff works out. It's just, there's just no way now with all this money flying in all these different directions and people changing places and there's so much. No, you cannot have 50 different daggone ways to do it. So yes, there needs to be an NCAA type of umbrella, but I just don't think the NCAA has the ability to do it, the capability to do it. But then who are you going to turn to now? The federal government? Oh God, that's just what we need. The federal government getting involved in college sports. There's the only thing worse than the NCAA running college sports would be the government running college sports. Pick your poison.
I was going to say, yeah, neither one, you're really getting a favorable outcome, I feel like, with that.
No, but how much worse could it be? And I'm not saying that facetiously. I'm like, ask yourself, if the government started doing this, how much worse could it be? We need to talk to Midwinter.
Midwinter needs to get back to me.
Reach out to Mid again. Sports attorney. Been trying to get. He's been wanting to come on. We've been trying to get him on to talk about.
What about our boy Alex Robbins?
Yeah,
a sports attorney.
Yep, reach out to him. Well, he's not necessarily a sports attorney, but he's an attorney who knows a lot about what's going on. Reach out to him.
We'll do that.
I would like to. It would be with all because this stuff changes every daggone day. It's something new. I mean, and it's going to continue to be that way. There's always going to be people testing whatever water they can test if it comes to them being making money or staying eligible. Because now that's the big stink about Zion Williamson is if this stuff comes out, it will prove that he was ineligible to be playing. So then now what do they do? How do they deal with that? It's going to be interesting.
2 minutes.
Very, very interesting. Man, lots of fun on the program today. Big thanks to K-Bro. As always, Kevin Brockway, as he joined us after his, I think he was in Omaha for like 14 days.
Yeah, he said it was 12 days earlier.
Oh, he's just there for 12? Very cool. But wow. Now that would be an experience. I've never been, I know we got to go, but I've never been on a 12-day one place coverage of something. That's very, very, that's rare. And this might be the only thing in what we all do that would offer that, unless you just stayed gone with the NCAA tournament.
Or the Olympics or something.
Yeah. Kyle Neddenriep as well, man. Great conversation with him. If you missed it, go back and catch it. Tomorrow on the show, our buddy Dustin Shooty is back. Indianapolis coach Matt Taylor, Dylan Sin from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, and our good buddy Chris Denary. And then Friday, Alec Bussey from thehoosier.com will get you caught up on all things recruiting and news. Bobby K, Bob Kravitz will be with us. Zach Osterman and Rick Bozich. I mean, are you kidding me? Those are that's some heavy hitters. Man, I can't thank you guys enough. As always, we appreciate you. Without you, we have no reason to be here, and for that, we're grateful. John, the producer, I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports